Hi everyone, I'm Giraton, and today we haven't got a podcast. We've been put that on delay so we can get some work on. So me and Kuko are both working on that. We're trying to get a proper schedule out because things have popped up. So we haven't had a chance to do a podcast. However, I am having my buddy challenge tomorrow, so I decided to go through my deck list for the actual tournament. Just to give you guys who have subscribed something to actually work on. And I just noticed I got that there. So, this is my Danger World deck list. Kuka hasn't seen this yet, and I barely got anyone to look at it. I've gotten some people to look at it, and I've tested it a lot. And it does work. So, let's get started, shall we? We'll start off with my buddy, which is, well, Armonite Ogre. A special Force of Will card sleeve, just because it looks cool. Of course, the Danger World flag. And we'll start off with the size 3, which is Emperor Dragon Gale Khan. He is a dragon. He's a dual dragon of Danger World, of course. And his core cost is to put 2 monsters on the field into the drop zone. You pay 2 gauge, and you can play him. But when he's played, you get to kill all your opponent's monsters. Soul Guard does apply, and so does all other abilities. They keep him alive. You can keep him alive, but still, that's a straight-up board wipe with a monster bonus. It does cost 2 monsters, though, which is a massive cost. I put it in for both budget reasons, and also for the fact that he's got 10,000 defense, which is pretty impressive. I would have preferred Demon, but he tends to survive a few turns extra. Next up, so we've got 2 of him. I didn't notice, say. And I got 3 Ammonite Cerberus. 3? Only 3. The reason is because I tend to not have a situational use on him. His stats are not great compared to the other guys in this deck, so he's good at clearing fields and getting rid of specific threats, but after that, he's kind of useless, and compared to the other cards in my deck, he's a great card otherwise, but he's very situational. So I only use 3 of them because he comes out at the right times for that. Next up, we've got 2 Ammonite Golems. Only 2. The reason is because I also run 2 Chimeras, which I'll get to later, but also because his 8,000 defense is great, but the 5,000 defense is a little... the 5,000 attack is just not enough to get rid of specific threats. However, Griffin here, which has 3... I've got 4 of here, has 7,000 attack, which can kill almost anything. He can't kill 10k beatsticks like Khan, but with a Link attack, he can literally kill anything. So, Griffin's there. Next up, we've got Chimera. And this guy I run because I realized that this deck needed 6,000 attack in order to get rid of a lot of things. So, Chimera was the obvious choice for that. He's also got 7,000 defense, which helps with the theme of this deck, which I'll get to in a bit after going through all the cards. And he's just overall a really good card. He also is nice to have it too if you have 2 Golem, because you have both, and you have the defense ready to go whenever you need to. Next up, I've got 3 Ammonite Ogres in my buddy. I would prefer to have 4 Ammonite Ogres, or maybe 5 copies of Hellhound, so I can make that my buddy, but at the moment I have no 4 copies of Ogre, Hellhound, or Eagle, so the buddy slot is my buddy is kind of required. He's also my buddy is not bad in Danger World. He's just not great. This is because you've also got like discard bait after you've used your buddy. So next up, I've got 4 Ammonite Hellhounds. Basic stuff. If you don't run him, you're kind of an idiot because turtles are the best. Next up, 2 Ammonite Gargoyles. This was pretty early into the deck. I wanted some extra crit power, so I decided to put him in, and then turns out he's also a great discard bait, and also some reason attack and spell absorber. I have no idea why. Maybe that's just the attitude of people I play, but he'll come in, he'll do some extra damage, and won't stick around, and then we get killed, but that's the point. Next up, of course, 4 Ammonite Eagles. Normally, 3 can deal with most decks, but the fact is I'm using Gale Khan. If you're using Gale Khan, Demon, or Ammonite Demon, or Demon Girdle, you kind of need 4 of him, because you need the discard bait fused with the fact that I'm actually using a size 3, so size 0s actually help quite a bit. Now moving on to the spells, because that's all the monsters. We have Battle Aura Circle at 4. If you are not running 4 of this, you are an idiot. Because Danger needs the defense, that's their defense. Next up, I used 3 Invigorating Breaths. 2 is not a good number. I am telling you now, 3 is the perfect number for this card. If you're running this card, you run 3. No more, no less. Because more, well, you get it often, but after you use it 3 times, it's kind of useless. Well, after you use it twice, it's kind of useless. You don't need it that often. But running it at 2 means you just normally don't get it anyway. So 3 seems to be the perfect number. I can get about 2 of them off in one game. But if I run it at 2, I barely get them at all. Next up is 2 copies of Crimson Slash. This is the slot that is completely open to sideboard. Simply because Crimson Slash is a good card against most decks, but if you're up against Ancient World, it's completely useless. If you're up against a high grade 3 user, it's also completely useless. And it's not always the best card against every deck. It's kind of just a card that if you can use it, it helps, and it targets a lot of things, but it doesn't really do too much. Next we've got 2 Battle Spirit Unites. Honestly, I think I should probably run this at 3, I just have little room for it. This is because Battle Spirit Unite requires the weapon, and 2 seems to work nicely with the fact that I've got 8 weapons. Works well with Khan. Works incredibly well with Khan. Honestly, it just keeps up the defense, which is the idea of the deck. Next, this is the one card I have been debating over and over again. This is the generic card, Castling. And this card requires you to pay 1 gauge, 1 monster on your field, and it nullifies 1 attack that is against you, the player. So, okay, I'm going to go over my reasoning for this card. This card works incredibly well with Eagle, incredibly well with Hellhound, and also kind of well with Gargoyle if he doesn't die. Anything that won't die or is Eagle, which is a size 0, this card is good for, because your opponent is attacking the center, you have monsters on the field, use Castling, it blocks the attack. It's helped me a lot and get me through a lot of games. Also, it's second nullify card that Danger World can use. I only run 2, because any more than that, and you're kind of going to be running out of monsters, and you're going to be gauging it off a lot. And there's really no point to running more than 2. Next, got 2 armor reusers. This slot is also semi-open to sideboarding, and this card allows you to get any Ammonite monster from your drop zone to your hand. This does mean that you will never ever get Gale Khan back, but if you need to get Gale Khan back, then you kind of in a bad position anyway, and you should have already used him. And you only need to use Gale Khan once per game. The reason why I run him at 2, you only need to use him once. Once you've used him, you pretty much haven't got enough resources to use him again. Next up, 4 Hysteric Spear. penetrate weapon for Danger World, and Danger World needs weapons, so you may as well use this. It's kind of staple. Kind of. It is staple. What am I thinking? 4 boulder piercing spears. Honestly, I thought I took one out before making this video, but I realized I didn't, and 4 boulder piercing spear kinda works. I would prefer the generic weapon that doesn't pay gauge, just because it works better with Battle Spirit Unite, but having 4 does give you a weapon that you can use Invigorating Breath with, Battle Spirit Unite with, helps quite a bit actually. And so yeah, that's the actual deck. That's the main deck. So we're going to go with the sideboarding. The sideboard, I have 2 Fighting Dragons Demon Girdles. This guy I kind of just had 2 of, so I kind of just used him. I got one for a boost pack, one for a friend, and he's kind of a, if I need to defend against more common, like if I'm up against Magic World or something. Magic World's a bad example, maybe Katana World, or the rare generic deck. I kind of just place him in the center and let him kill stuff. Because the Soul Guard does activate counterattack, which is an interesting note. Next up, continuing with monsters, I've got 1 Twin Blade Dragon Double Zace and 1 Stronghorn Dragon Dightless, which I'll show now. The reason I'm throwing these in together is because I don't have 2 copies of both. However, I was able to get my hands on 1 copy of each. Honestly, I prefer Dightless. This is because, if I can get it close enough, he has 6,000 power at 5,000 defense to crit. He also has the ability Penetrate. Double Zace, however, has the attack and defense flipped around, having 5,000 attack and 6,000 defense. This means that they basically do the same thing, only this guy can hit more specific things, and this can defend a bit better. So both of them work. I kind of just threw them in there at the same time, and I put them in the sideboard because I don't really want to make this a penetrate deck, and I don't really want to use them against everything. They are in there to fight Katana World, Ancient World, and partly Magic World. Just because Magic World and Danger World's Magic World and Katana's World's nullify cards do not work against link attacks. So if you link attack with these guys and your weapon, that's always going to hit, unless it's Katana World, they slap down the Clairvoyance guy. I also have temporarily 2 Lightning Strike Dragon Garjons. The only reason this is in here is because A, it's also a second defensive unit, in case I want to keep up the defense. He's also a life gain unit, but also he takes up the room temporarily for the card Exorcist Stomp, which is the item and set spell destruction for Danger World. I have not gotten my hands on that card yet because nobody, and I mean nobody, seems to have 2 copies of it. In fact, I haven't even found anyone that's had 1 copy of it. So I'll be throwing that in as soon as possible. Hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on a few tomorrow, if I'm lucky. And then what I've got left is spells. I run 2 Earth Shattering Slashes, completely for Ancient World. Simply because if you have a spell that can destroy Ancient World monsters, you are great. And it helps just a lot to kill them. And said anything else, if they're using a lot of grade 3s, like a Dragon World deck that uses a lot of grade 3s, it helps, but it's not necessary. It's otherwise just a higher cost Crimson Slash, which is the why I put it in the sideboard, Crimson Slash here. And finally, I have 2 Thunder Devastations. This card, for 2 gauge, allows you to destroy all defense 5000 or less monsters on your opponent's field. That's board wipe. The reason I put it into my sideboard is because I found it doesn't work against Danger World, Ancient World, or Dragon World. Or did I say Dragon World twice? Danger, Ancient, Dragon. Dragon seems to keep it going with their size 2s, nearly all of them having 6,000 defense, making Thunder Devastation not really worth it for 2 gauge to kill like one monster. Their size 1s, they're not a problem, but their size 2s are. So it's not good against Dragon. Danger, for obvious reasons. I mean, look at my loadout. Not a lot of things can have 5,000 or less defense. So that's for obvious reasons. And finally, Ancient World, well, they're going to be slapping down giant size 3s. They're not going to have less than 5,000 defense. However, Magic World and Katana World get destroyed by the card. So it's always good to keep it in. That's not your Facebook. And, so yeah, that's the entire deck. It was good to make a video of this. And, yeah, like, subscribe. We'll hopefully be doing a new podcast soon. Maybe after the Buddyfight challenge, just to get my thoughts through. And, yeah, I'm Neuroton, out, and I'll see you next time.